Hello viewers and welcome to yet another live-action commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present you with an exceptionally special match indeed, not only because it's featuring two very talented players, but also because they're each going to be piloting a very seldom seen, very much underrepresented warlord. On the left we happen to see the Astra Militarum Colonel Straken, played by a gentleman by the name of Sebastian Freidin, and on the right we have Alexander Cimadon, who happens to be running the likes of Urien Rakarth. In assessing our opening layout of planets, we can see that planet number 1 is going to be Planum, which allows you to move units to any subsequent planet further down the line. Planet number 2 is going to be Therin, which routes. Planet 3 is going to be Ossus 4, which steals resources. Planet number 4 is going to be Eloith, which allows you to tutor the top 3 cards of your deck for any one card that you'd like. Put the remaining 2 at the bottom of your deck in any order that you'd choose. And Planet 5, though you can't see it, is going to be Barlas. It's the random card discard planet. The glare in this video, I do apologize, but it's going to be resolved in just a couple minutes, and given the rarity, the scarcity of the seldom seen, often not played warlords, especially against one another, I definitely wanted to capture, commentate, and present you with this match today. But the initiative token is in the hands of Alexander on the right. We end up seeing a copy of the unique Dark Eldar unit, Siren Zithlex, put into play at the first planet, and that's going to basically force any subsequently played army unit deployed to the first planet to end up being exhausted. And speaking of exhausted, we end up seeing Colonel Straken exhaust to fund part of the cost for a Muster the Guards. So any thereafter played Imperial Guard unit this round ends up having its cost decreased by 1. So this is going to afford him the opportunity to potentially just fill the board with a veritable wealth of Astra Militarum units. In assessing our layout of planets, it looks like the earliest we can end up seeing a victory condition is going to be through green strongpoint icons at planet number 5, so therefore it's going to be very important that planets 1, 3, and 5 are potentially won by one of our players. We end up seeing a copy of Rogue Trader put out to planet number 5, so that's going to potentially afford Alexander the opportunity to generate an additional resource, win those 2 cards. And we end up seeing the signature support, the Omega Zero command, put into play by Colonel Straken. So if he can indeed fill the board with command icon-laden units, that could afford him a fantastic opportunity to potentially just gain a tremendous early game advantage against Urien just by filling the board with those 1/2 soldier guardsman tokens. And as soon as Straken happens to touch down at a planet with a soldier or a warrior, he of course enhances its attack value by 1. So those would be 2/2 tokens. And planet number 2, we end up seeing a copy of the 3/2 Baleful Mandrake. That's going to potentially net Alexander a couple of resources there, and Void Pirate splashes down at planet number 3 for Sebastian. So that's going to be 1 card, 2 resources for him. So we've yet to see that Muster the Guard really put to any use whatsoever, and that kind of sucks because the Omega Zero command basically rewards you for winning as many command struggles as possible, and given that Straken is currently exhausted, he's not going to be winning command by default, and therefore he's not going to be automatically generating a guardsman token with which to use for, glorious intervention, preemptive barrage, any number of different deleterious effects to his opponent there. A copy of promotion ends up being put out to play to planet number 5 for Alexander. I can only imagine he's running out of deploy actions to try to ensure he wins those cards there, and much to my surprise, we end up seeing a copy of the 0-cost Mystic Warden put out to planet number 2, and subsequently we play a Noble Deed by Colonel Straken, so he's going to sacrifice that 2/2 0-cost Mystic Warden that normally is discarded at the end of the combat round in order to try and kill off that Baleful Mandrake, but it looked as though Alexander discarded a 2 shield icon copy of Shadowfield to negate that entirely. So Siren Zithlex has got that planet number 1 on lockdown. We haven't seen any benefit whatsoever from Colonel Straken playing that Muster the Guards. That was definitely a very curious choice there to potentially deprive himself of that early game economic boost from having Straken win a planet, from being able to potentially snipe off something like that promoted Rogue Traders. That's kind of looking down for him. That Baleful Mandrake is very much threatening planet number 2, and unless he can do something crazy, it looks like it's going to be really difficult for him to win at planet number 1, and then Siren can shift herself further down the line, but we actually see a Lehman Russ, a 4/6 4 command icon unit put out to Eloith, so that's Kind of a curious choice there. It's definitely going to all but guarantee that he's able to win those cards, but it's a non-unique unit. It's very much subject to things along the lines of Archon's Terror, and if Urien wants, he could effectively ignore that blue technology icon planet just because his victory condition is looking to be through green strongpoint icons. We just have a tremendous dearth of more than one planet-type icon planets on the field. Planum is the only one that we see that's even a dual icon planet, and that happens to be green and blue, so unless we see another blue planet coming up, that Leman Russ seems like a bit of a waste here, but we end up seeing Warlords committed. Definitely not to my surprise, we see Urien go to planet number 3, so he's going to win those resources, deprive his opponent Sebastian of that, and potentially kill off that Void Pirate. Looks like Colonel Straken is going to go to planet number 5, but it's definitely a bit of a shame for Sebastian because he's not going to be able to win command at planet number 5. He's not going to be able to have an opportunity to kill off that rogue trader before it has an opportunity to retreat. So planet number 1 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Alexander. Planet 2, 2 resources to the right. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 resources to the right. Planet number 4 is going to be 2 cards to the left, and Sebastian gets to generate a 1/2 guardsman soldier token at Elowith for his trouble there. But planet number 5 is going to be 2 cards, 1 resource for Alexander. So there's going to be battles taking place at planet number 1, 3, and 5. We're not going to be able to see anything like an Elysian assault team, or I guess if we see an eager recruit, I believe that Siren Zithlex just specifies any units that happen to end up being deployed to her planet, not put into play or deployed during the deploy phase. So any ambushing units like that would arrive exhausted, but looks like the battle at Planum there is going to be 1 entirely uncontested. The battle ability allows Siren to relocate down the line to planet number 3, which again is part of the Dark Eldar victory condition through green strongpoint icons, and now he's very nicely set up at planet number soon-to-be 1, Farron, because even though the initiative token will be in the hands of Colonel Straken, Straken's not going to be able to do too much against that. We end up seeing Siren Zithlex exhaust, kill off that Void Pirate. That's a very bit of a nasty little blow, and we start to see just a tremendous wealth of economic disparity accumulated here. So that's a large number of resource tokens. Looks like the battle is going to be won at planet number 3. That's going to be 1 resource token stolen from Straken, given to Alexander. So Alexander currently is sitting on 5 resources relative to 0. I can't see the total number of cards in hand, but we end up seeing a copy of Power from Pain put into play. That means that our opponent Sebastian here has to sacrifice an army unit. How many army units does he have in play? I count 1 token, 1 army unit, 1 Warlord. That 5, well, modified down to 4 cost Leman Russ is immediately sacrificed, destroyed by that Power from Pain that, if memory serves, only cost 1 due to Urien Rakarth decreasing the cost of torture events down to, -1 relative to their printed cost. But we end up seeing a battle erupt at that very last planet there. Barless, looks like Straken's going to win, but the Rogue Trader's going to have an opportunity to leave, retreat. Looks like we're seeing that random discard. What exactly are we going to see? Looks like our players are rolling a dice, which is very cute. Incubus Warrior ends up being discarded, 2 cost, 2 command icon unit, and what's kind of funny about D6 there is unless they're like precision machined to be exact, they're by no means a perfect model of random distribution. But looks like our camera adjusts. Glare is no longer an issue, so thank you very much for bearing with me to this point in the video. Headquarters phase comes and goes. 4 resources, 2 cards for each player. Karnath is the new planet, 1 red, 1 blue icon. It allows you to trigger the battle ability of any other planet in play. The initiative token goes over to Colonel Straken, and we could see a random discard. We could see a tutoring top 3 card, steal resource, or route, based on if either player wins at Karnath. The initiative token is in the hands of Straken. He's ready this time. The Baleful Mandrake is nicely positioned to threaten planet number 2. It's going to be a great opportunity for Urien to potentially rout any big nasty unit if Straken ends up putting into play another, Leman Russ or something like that. But it looks like another copy of the Muster the Guard, which is a very curious choice indeed. So Straken is once again exhausted. He's going to forego another automatic economic victory. And even though the Dark Eldar player hasn't flooded the board with command icon laden units, it very much looks like Straken is either going to have to start putting a ton of units into play, or he's looking looking to just, you know, keep giving up any modicum of a lead that he could have potentially had and just let things keep getting out of control. But Hypex Injector is attached to the Baleful Mandrake at planet number 1. Curiously, we end up seeing Straken put into play White Scar's Biker opposite that unit. It's a 2/3 attacker that's going to be augmented to a 4/3 if Straken or Urien happen to touch down at that planet, and that Baleful Mandrake, given just how many cards in hand, how many resources Alexander has, he could potentially use that ranged attack with the Hypex Injector to end up killing off that White Scar's Biker. But very curiously, we actually see a copy of the Honorifica Imperialis put into play on the White Scar's Biker, so it ends up getting ranged and armor bane if it happens to be at a if it happens to be present at a planet with the enemy Warlord here. So that's very curious, just because if Urien goes to that planet, the initiative token happens to be in the hands of Straken. Straken will have the opportunity as a player to have that White Scar's Biker attacks for, you know, a 4/3 ranged armor bane attack before that Baleful Mandrake has the opportunity to attack a million times. So we'll have to see what kind of torture events we end up seeing. But Hellion Gang at planet number 4 and his Slith Mercenaries at planet number 5, which is fantastic considering that Alexander definitely has the resource lead. He's in no danger of Straken stealing command of the Slith Mercenaries, only to win command and generate a Guardsman token. So very wisely, we see Urien steer clear of planet number 1. That means his Baleful Mandrake is going to be the only ranged unit at that planet. Straken touches down at that planet, so the White Scar's Biker is going to be a 4/3 attacker, but no range, no armor bane. Urien Rakarth is going to end up going to planet number 3 here, so that's going to be a tie at planet number 1 in regard to economy. 2 resources, planet number 2 for Alexander. Alexander also gets 1 resource, 2 cards at planet number 3, 2 cards at planet number 4 for Alexander, and Alexander once again gets 1 resource, 1 card at planet number 5. So combat is going to occur at planet number 1, planet number 3. The only important planets in regard to the Dark Eldar victory condition are going to be planet number 2 and planet number 4, given that they have green strongpoint icons. I suppose, what kind of torture events could we potentially see? The Baleful Mandrake could attack, whether or not Straken shields. We could keep seeing torture events fuel that Baleful Mandrake readying once again. So we could see the 0-cost Rakarth's experimentations potentially dealing out damage to Colonel Straken. It's 0 cost, so he could potentially play 4 if he's drawn through that many, and either Straken will have to discard a card of Alexander's chosen type, or he'll have to deal a damage to his Warlord. But in any case, that Baleful Mandrake is going to ready. So the Baleful Mandrake has exhausted. What exactly is it going to attack? Is it going to try to kill off that White Scar's Biker and potentially retreat? Because that's definitely a daunting bit of a threat for subsequent rounds. Looks like we end up seeing another copy of Noble Deed discarded as shields. That's a 1 shield icon card. That's going to be 2 points of damage dealt out to the White Scar's Biker. It only happens to have 1 hit point remaining. And now, are we going to see any kind of torture event? Do we have any events from the initiative token player? We could see another Noble Deed. We could see like a Glorious Intervention, but we actually end up seeing a Rakarth's Experimentations. So there's no way to tell what exactly Alexander's calling out in regard to the chosen card type, but it's going to be up to Straken to either take a point of damage if he cannot discard a card of the chosen type, whether it's army units, event, attachment, support, and so on and so forth. But regardless, Baleful Mandrake ends up ready once again. Looks like Colonel Straken takes 1 point of damage, and now, depending on how many events that our Dark Eldar player could have in hand, this could have gone all the way bad. So it looks like the White Scar's Biker is actually successfully destroyed, and we could have easily seen, like, let's say, Baleful Mandrake attacks, damages Straken, the Experimentation damages Straken, maybe even bloodies him, then we see, like, an Archon's Terror banish that White Scar's Biker. We end up seeing a copy of Searing Brand put into place. That's 3 resources at a planet where Urien happens to be present. It's 3 unpreventable damage unless the opponent can choose and discard 2 cards from their hand. I don't know if it looks like maybe 1 card in hand, but it looks like whether that was a Void Pirate or Rogue Trader, it's completely obliterated, and that means, again, the Baleful Mandrake has the opportunity to ready, and that's going to be 3 massive points of damage on Straken there, so that is really going to hurt. But it looks like we finally come down to the end of the first combat round. So range skirmish is done. The initiative token is going to be in the hands of Colonel Straken, so he'll have the opportunity to attack or retreat. Is he attacking? Is he retreating? Looks like we end up seeing a copy of Searing Brand discarded, so that means the Baleful Mandrake that has 2 hit points is going to end up taking no points of damage whatsoever, and that Baleful Mandrake is going to have an opportunity to swing. I have no idea what card that is remaining in hand. Looks like our players are having a little bit of a chat about something. I can't imagine that Colonel Straken is feeling great at the moment, given how the game has gone thus far, but that Baleful Mandrake, I assume, is attacking. Perhaps our players are discussing something, but it looks like, you know, Urien is going to be able to tutor some cards. That Farron it actually isn't going to have any eligible units to route. So, I suppose let's see what happens here. We could have like a 3 shield icon card, block that bloodying of Straken. But apart from something like that, things are looking pretty grim for our Imperial Guard player, who, quite wisely, 0 resource tokens, maybe 1 card at most in hand, and definitely far, far from, if you take a glance at Urien Rakarth's board to the right there. But exceptionally well-played game by both of our players. Thank you once again to Alexander Cimadon for providing me with this footage in the first place. Thank you for your patience with the glare, but I definitely wanted to present this very seldom seen, very scarcely played matchup between 2 of my personal favorite, pet favorite, perhaps, warlords. But I suppose I'll end this video by saying, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, be sure to hit the share button, as the more people end up seeing these videos, the more eyes there are on this content, the more players might be exposed to Conquest. Give the game a try, pick it up, join our community, and of course, just like us, keep sending the message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me through Twitter or through Facebook to have me spectate, record, and commentate an Octagon match of your own, or if, like Alexander, you've recorded some live-action games of your own, preferably in nice, non-glare HD quality, I'd be absolutely honored were you to get in touch through Twitter or through Facebook, and of course, you're always welcome to simply say hello. And of course, if at any point you'd feel so inclined to donate $1 or $2 to my cause through my Patreon on a strictly monthly basis to help me cover some of my file hosting and operating expenses, I'd be both honored and humbled. So with that said, I'll just end this video by saying thank you as always for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.